Good morning, good morning. Can't tell if this is just like how it looks on my camera or if it's like bleached out by the sun. I'm sat in front of an office window and it's nice and bright. It's lovely. Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Heidi Maver. I'm the founder of NHS Matters. Shouldn't take my meds while I remember. I work supporting families of children and young people whose kids can't be in school, who particularly need help around the EHCP process and securing bespoke education, otherwise than school packages. I'm also the best-selling author of Your Child Is Not Broken, Parent Your Neurodivergent Child Without Losing Your Marbles. Hello, how are we all? So I'm coming at you from a different location this morning. I'm at my boyfriend's house. I've come to do my year end. So I've brought my planner and I'm going to have to do lots of looking for receipts I never kept and all that jazz. Anyway, good morning. I wanted to share something with you this morning. And first of all, I want to say that if you are a person or a parent who is in a place where you feel like the pressure of time, I just want to send you loads of love, because I've been there and I am often there, and it is not fun when you feel like you've got to get things done in a hurry. You know, you can't put things off, you can't wait for things. I can't believe I've got to shut the curtains. That's now too dark, isn't it? How's that? Yeah, I just want to let you know that I feel that. I know how that feels. I also want to say that one of the things that happens to us particularly when we're in a trauma response, particularly when we've been under a lot of pressure for a long time and we've been fighting for our kids. So perhaps you're in the EHCP process or you're in tribunal or whatever it might be. Oh, by the way, if you drop angry faces, that's good for the algorithm. Go, 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 go. Anyway, not too many though, because you'll give me paranoia. Morning, Ella. So it's completely natural to be on that, like in that state of hypervigilance and hyper alert the whole time if you are someone who has been fighting a system. So that's very common ground for lots of us. But what can also happen, thanks, Sharon. What can also happen is that we find ourselves in a situation where we rush ourselves and we put ourselves under more pressure than we need to get things done quickly. And that might be replying to emails, sending back drafts of EHCPs, making complaints, whatever it might be. And I've got a friend who at the minute is going through some kind of recovery stuff, and we've been having conversations about it. And I just had this moment when I realized, talking to them, that the thing that has made the difference to me over the last 12 months, and that has been the reason that I've not completely lost my marbles, is that I have really made an effort to be what old me might have called extra lazy. So I intentionally take longer than perhaps historically I would have done to do things. And it's not just out of necessity. It's not because I have to, because I'm chronically fatigued and I'm in burnout recovery still. It's been 3 years. That's not the only reason. That, like, slowing down because you have to kind of isn't a choice. And that's not, I don't think, the tricky part. Like, when you get to the point where you feel like you've got to stop or your body forces you to stop, you really have no choice. The hard part is the pacing. The hard part is making the decision to take things easier when you feel that you have the capacity to do it more quickly and with more urgency. And any time that you are doing anything with a sense of urgency, you are flooding your system with cortisol, the stress hormone, and adrenaline. And you are kind of hammering your central nervous system with chemicals that throw you into a flight response. And they don't best serve you for making good, logical decisions. So I've had to do quite a lot of work on being all right with not running at 500 miles an hour. I say quite a lot of work. I have had to do a shitload of work on that. And in our house, we prioritize rest, and we don't shame ourselves or each other for resting. And that might not be actual being in bed rest, although for me it often is, but it might just be brain rest. So it might be doing something that gives your brain a rest from the thing that is causing you the stress or the anxiety. And I think pacing is so tough, says Sharon. I really have to force myself to stop sometimes. And at the moment, I'm in a real lack of motivation phase. And, I think we have to ride that. We have to work with our natural flow and our natural rhythm and work with our natural energy. So that when we feel motivated to do things and we have this capacity and the energy, we do it. And when we don't, we also don't do it. So we just get kinder to ourselves of respecting those natural energy rhythms, and just really get really kind with ourselves about taking time. This is not me saying don't do it, stop everything. Also, if it's causing you distress, don't do it, stop everything. There is hardly anything. No, that's not true. There is not a lot that can't wait till tomorrow. There are some things that need to be dealt with today. And we're not talking about crisis, we're not talking about genuine urgency. We're talking about when you are putting a lot of pressure on yourself to get things done quickly because you have that kind of lack energy around, if I don't do it, I might lose it. That's not where good decisions get made. And I believe that one of the things that has kind of served me well in the last 12 months, especially the last tribunal we went through, I was just like, do you know what? They can bloody well wait. They can wait. They make me wait. I'll make them wait. They miss deadlines. I'll chuff and miss deadlines. Emma says, I hate waiting for things to be done by other people as I'm just stressed as I wait. Yeah. And also the work around being patient with yourself is also around being patient more generally. But again, when you're in trauma response, that's difficult. But I really wish that we were better skilled as parents to really take care of ourselves and manage our energy levels better. So this person, I don't know who it is saying, I go from running like crazy to not being able to do anything at all. And that boom or bust. I mean, that is what capitalism is built on, right? That's why people work themselves into the ground. When they're in employed positions, that's why people talk about that. What's that? Is it constructive quitting that people say, that when you go home, when your shift finishes, that's you being not doing your thing, not pulling your weight? Bugger that. They pay you to work. They don't own your life. But it's really difficult to do this when you're in a stress response, when your central nervous system is dysregulated. And it's also really difficult to regulate your central nervous system when you're in that hyper alert sense of urgency response. So yes, have a sense of urgency around, don't leave things forever, or do. I'm not the boss of you. And also, I get emails from people saying, this is urgent. And I'm not playing down how urgent it is. You tell me it's urgent. And also, I would just gently challenge you around, how are you defining whether something is urgent or not? Is that actually serving you to be constantly in that state of hypervigilance and hyper alert? And I know that we don't all have control over all of that. We do have control over the pressure we put ourselves under. So I think it's really important to be kind with ourselves about that. Jane saying, it's hard to recognize when you're actually finally getting help because we've been gaslighted and parent blamed for so long. 3 years in and I'm as impatient as ever. I do recognize my own knee-jerk reaction due to the above. I definitely need more rest now, which I found frustrating too, until I realized I had to listen to my body. And take it from someone who learned this the hard way. If you don't listen to your body will shout and scream and eventually just go on strike to make sure that you listen. So it's better to hear it before that happens. It's conscious quitting. Thank you. That is what it's called, Tina. Thank you. Sharon, yes, I'm going through a low point, very stressed and putting self-care higher up the list, doing less these past few weeks and resting more. You've got to. You've absolutely got to. You absolutely need it when you're in this process and have to deal with the professionals. Agreed. I feel like I'm constantly in a stress response. I wake up with a jolt of fight or flight every morning. Yeah, I have been there, my love. I have been there. Helen, using your spoons wisely. If you've only got a teaspoon, don't try to be a shovel. I think that says. Yeah, 100%. So I just wanted to acknowledge that I know that many of us are there. Don't try to be a shovel. I did the correcting for you, Helen. Hope that's okay. I just want to acknowledge that I know that many of us are there, and for many of us, this is a very real challenge. And to just empower you to just take a minute to have a think about what could you do today to just take a bit of pressure off yourself. What could you park? What could you leave? Like, genuinely, one part of my kind of pacing strategy is I look at what my to-do list is. And this works for me because I'm ADHD. It might not work for everybody. But look at what your to-do list is and think, right, what doesn't have to happen today? What can be left until tomorrow? And that gets left, right? So there is a webinar on my website that I did with Kirstine Chassels about fatigue. And if you haven't watched it, I'll pop a link in the comments. Just give me a second. I'm just looking for it now. So there's two, actually. There's one called Surviving the Trauma of a Broken System. And that's about trauma experienced by neurodivergent parents and practical tools to self-soothe. And then there's also one called Why Am I So Flipping Exhausted? And I think that people might find those helpful. So I'm just going to pop them in the comments so you can see if it will let me. Should do. From my website, if you go to webinars, there we go. I think you can see it there. Yeah. Fiona saying, having a bad morning as we missed an assessment appointment again this morning, so I have climbed back into bed for some hiding from the world time. I fully endorse that action, Fiona. I fully endorse it. I feel like I'm having to force myself to do anything right now. When I have commitments, I feel as if virtually everything is getting left. Yeah, and I felt like that too. And I think it's a very real fear for us as well, right? The other thing I think that is a really useful, let me just download this for you, send you a link, really useful mood self-assessment tool that I use a lot when sometimes we're not able to properly gauge where we are mental health wise. And this tool, which is if you just go to the NHS, just Google NHS Mood Assessment tool, but it's also here. You can click this link. It is sometimes worth having a look at this. It will give you a score out of 21 for anxiety and a score out of 21 for depression. If you're finding that you are very lethargic, lacking in energy, finding it difficult to sleep, sleeping too much, finding it difficult to eat, eating too much, whatever you define as too much is different for everybody, or that you are lacking motivation, it might be worth doing that mood assessment and just having a look and see where your depression score is, and it will give you a bit of guidance, because one of the things that I think is most overlooked within our community is that we recognize stress and anxiety, but we don't always recognize depression, because we expect to be stressed, we expect to be anxious, but depression can be really debilitating, and it can be treated. And, that's why you saw me at the beginning of this video taking my meds. I'm on an SSRI, which helps manage my depression. And, it's certainly not fail-safe for everybody, and it's certainly not the only option for everybody. But for me, being on a reasonable dose of an antidepressant medication is the difference between me managing and not managing right now. So, and has been for pushing on for 2.5 years. So I would just empower you to just have a think about where you are, do that self-assessment, mood assessment, or have a think just generally, do a bit of Googling and see whether you think you might be depressed. And if you are, maybe consider speaking with someone about it, whether that's a member of your family or a member of your support network, or maybe even going and seeing your GP. Because for me, that's one of the hardest things to gauge. I can tell when I'm anxious, but I can't always tell when I'm depressed. I see so many parents just jumping in, trusting blindly, and realize how distrustful I've become due to this supposed help that has actually led to do much harm, stress, pressure, and even fear for those who are meant to help. I'm not from the UK originally, and it's been horrifying experience. Yeah, I'm really sorry, Jackie. I think that that's a shared experience for many of us. So I just wanted to say that if you are feeling like wrung out, overwhelmed, under a lot of pressure, this is Auntie Heidi giving you permission to go, okay, what can I take off my list for today? What does not have to be dealt with today? What can be shelved? What can be completely scratched off my list? There's nothing more satisfying for me putting something on the list and then deciding not to do it, scribbling it out vigorously. I know some people won't like that, depending on your list making style. I was about to ask if you can always tell when you're depressed. I don't feel that I am, but I will do the test. I personally find it difficult to work out whether I'm depressed or not. I think that's because I have a predisposition to depression, and I've probably had low-lying depression for my entire life. So just use the tools that you need at your disposal. Please don't leave it to go and see a doctor or to speak to someone if you feel that your mental health may be dipping, because that way, disaster lies. Take that from someone who knows. But what I really wanted to say today was it is okay to pace yourself. You do not have to be running at 500 miles an hour, and you do not have to be firing on all cylinders all the time in order to be valuable. Half a cylinder is absolutely fine. And if that means that all you do today is get through the day, maybe have a couple of drinks of water, maybe have some food, and lie in bed and contemplate the life, universe, and everything in it, or listen to a shitty podcast, or watch crap on Netflix, or play in the garden with your kids, or cry, or punch a pillow, or have mediocre sex. All of those things are completely valid. Or great sex, or no sex, or sex with yourself. All valid is what I'm saying. All valid. Your value as a human being is not determined by your output and your productivity, and it's certainly not determined by how busy you are. So I just want to really empower you to be gentle with yourself today. And if my webinars will help, I've popped a link so you can go and see if they may be useful to you. If not, that's totally cool. If this is something that you agree with, then feel free to share. And if not, then my name is Jo Frost, and I'm the Super Nanny. Please write to me to complain. Oh, bless your heart. We've got you, Tammy. Tears are good. Tears are chemically very good for your body. So yeah, I'm sending you lots of love and permission from Eotas Matters Towers to cut yourself a bit of fucking slack today. Okay, Lisa says, I'm depressed and getting stressed just looking at my 4 children's documents. I know, my love. I get terrible inertia and can't do it. I realise after all children being diagnosed ODD, ADHD, autism and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that I am too. I've been refused assessments 3 times now. Crikey. That's a lot. You're allowed a week in bed, Lisa. So yeah, I'm really sorry things are so tough. And I don't mean to oversimplify by saying, just take it easy. I know I'm not the caramel bunny. And also, give yourself a little bit of compassion. Pour some love into your own soul and just have a minute. Can it wait? Can you park it? Can you ask someone else for help today? Do you need to just go back to bed? All valid. See you all later.